Hey there, Space Cadets. Welcome back to another episode of Learnin the Ropes, in which I play some Dota 2. This episode, you guys are in for a treat, because, well, you'll see. You'll see. I mean, you see it in the title. You know who I'm playing. It's a Meepo game. It's a Meepo game. I got the Mappos. So this was a random draft game, as you guys can see here, and I was last pick. And as the draft was going, I was, watching our the enemies there, and getting ready for my pick. I was either last pick or I was last pick on our team, certainly. So I'm like, I don't know what to get, guys. Like, I want to make sure I get the right pick against these this team. Like, they got the Slardar, they got a Sven, they got a Luna, and there's a big pool left, and I wasn't sure what to pick. But random draft, it picks for you if you wait too long. You have a little bit of time. It's not like ability draft where you got like 5 seconds. I mean, you got a little more than that. But I was arguing back and forth. It's like, are we going mid? Who we put in mid? Like, what's the plan here? I wasn't sure what our laning phase was going to look like. I wasn't sure what the lanes were going to look like. And all of a sudden, I got Meepo. and I was like, well, team, I guess we lost, friends. Because I've never played.
Faces, everyone.
I have never played Meepo. As you can see, it was one of those things where I'm going to go ahead and turn down the audio this time because I think it's been distracting. So it was one of those things where I was like, crap, I've never played Meepo before, and Meepo is a super hard character to play, and I was like, this will end poorly. But it's like, you know what? Gotta man up. And just do it. So, down here, the Radiant's getting ready, buying their stuff, getting ready to go. We're up here on the Dire side. On the Dire team, we've got Anti-Mage, we've got Coddle, Keeper of the Light, we got a Timbersaw, we got Lich, and we got the Mappo, played by me. Meepo is an interesting character. So for those of you who don't know, and that could be a few of you who are watching my Learn the Ropes series, Meepo is a really interesting hero because unlike most heroes in the game, but there's a few exceptions, he's very micro dependent because you end up creating clones. His ultimate is Divided We Stand. When he starts putting points into his ultimate, he gets,
and here we go,
clones of himself, all right, that you then can control, and they act like, any other Meepo, right? You can run around, you can trigger his spells, you can activate his abilities, you can right-click, all that good stuff. So you have to be pretty micro-intensive because the counterbalance to that is that when any one clone dies, they all die. So if you're splitting your clones up and split pushing, or if you're sending one out into the jungle, or if one gets caught and the others are running away and it gets done, like you will lose everybody, right? So it's tough. He's a tough hero to play. The other funky thing about Meepo is that his clones, as you can see, do not wield any items but the boots that the Mappo himself is wearing. So what does this mean? What it basically means is that when you're leveling up Meepo and when you're picking his items, I should say, not when you're leveling him up, but when you're deciding what items to get on the Meepo, you want to go for like auras. His recommended items, let's see if we can bring those up under player view here. Meepo's recommended item build, it won't let me do it, includes things like Assault Cuirass. It includes things like the Mechanism. It includes stuff like Vladimir's Offering. These are items that create auras that will affect all of his clones as well as him. Since you only really have 6 item slots, even though you can end up with a total of 5, because you can upgrade with an Aghanim Scepter, you get an additional clone. You end up with 5 Meepos. An Aghanim Scepter is definitely an item you're going to want to go because you want those clones because it just makes you super dangerous, right? The cool thing about Meepo, so let's go through his skills. As you can see, we're in the laning phase. I'm up against the Sven, and I'm up against the, I believe they're Shadow Shaman. And that's a pretty scary combo because they've got a lot of disable and can deal a lot of damage. And that can be real bad news. Meepo doesn't start super strong. He's got really interesting stats, as you can see, like pretty even stats. His gain, what's he's got? He's mostly agility. He's got kind of crappy stat gain overall. They're fairly even, but they're not amazing. And he's got okay base armor, force not bad, okay base movement speed, and really, really shitty base damage. So one of the first things I went for was buying the Ring of Basilius because, again, aura. It gives bonus armor to me and anybody else within the aura. It gives bonus regen. It gives me some damage, and it's cheap. So it's a nice basic item. It also is part of Vladimir's offering, which is something I know I'm going to be getting. The other cool thing about Meepo, as we're going into his skills, so we'll start with his ulti. Divided We Stand can be picked up pretty early. The first level of it, I think you can take at level 3. And then the next one is at level 9, and then at level 17, I think, something like that. It's like it's not the normal 6, 11, 16 pattern for his ulti, right? So you end up taking, and that's just to allow you to get access to your clones earlier, which is pretty nice. So you definitely want to max that like as soon as possible. That's what you are. You're a Meepo. You want clones. Otherwise, why are you playing Meepo? Next skill he's got, we're going to go backwards. It's passive, Geostrike. So Geostrike enhances his damage from his weapon, and it also gives a slow to anybody that he attacks. And you can stack it on multiple Meepos. So this stacks up to be a pretty scary amount of damage and slow when they're all jumping on top of somebody. His second ability is Poof, which is really good. This is the one that I wanted to max first. Poof allows you to deal damage in a radius. It also summons one Meepo to another Meepo. So what this means is like you can send a Meepo back to base to heal while the other Meepos keep pushing, and then poof that Meepo back into the lane to help you keep pushing or damaging or attacking creeps or whatever it is you're doing at the time. It gives him a lot of mobility. You can send a Meepo out to scout and then poof all your other Meepos on top of him to get ganks. Like, he's actually kind of cool and mobile in that way. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to see whether or not, there's like a build you could do with Boots of Travel, into a bunch of poofs where you Boots of Travel into a lane and then poof everybody on top of it to get a lot of mobility around, but I'm not sure if that's really worth it because, again, his stats are not the best. So generally you want to go power tread so that way you can tread switch, because since the Meepo, all the Meepos share boots, I'm not 100% sure if each Meepo can individually tread switch, but it's a good way to, even if you just leave it on strength, it's like extra survivability, which you need because, like I said, any Meepo that dies, kills all your Meepos. So that's Poof. The other cool thing about Poof, as you level it up, its cooldown reduces. You can teleport anywhere on the map with it, and it deals damage to everything around them. So you can also use it as a nuke by nuking down creeps or heroes around by just having all your Meepos poof on top of each other right next to a hero or the creep wave, which gives them some push potential and gives them some good, presence in the lane, which is awesome. That's the other reason. And here's where we're going to learn that Sven, you're going to have a real bad time against Sven as a Meepo, because Sven's got that big area stun, so he can get all your Meepos at once. And, I mean, any kind of stun on a Meepo can be scary, but when he gets all of them, then you don't even have the chance to, have your other ones come in and try to save the Meepo that got stunned. Plus, I got shackled by the Shadow Shaman, and it was just, I was like, well, this is not good. I mean, at this point in the game, I'm like, well, I'm trying, I'm figuring out how I want to skill him. What I figured I would end up doing, I forget if I know I maxed Poof first, put as many points as I could in Divide We Stand as soon as possible, and I forget if I maxed Geostrike or Earthbind first. And it's a good time to talk about Earthbind. Earthbind is his first skill. It's got a 2-second duration, and as you can see, it pins down enemy units, prevents invisibility, blink, interrupts channeling. It's got a pretty insane range as you level it up, and a decent radius, and it reduces the cooldown a lot as you level it too, even though it's got a flat 100 mana cost. All of your Meepos can cast that, just like all of your Meepos can cast Poof, which means if you're good at tabbing through and microing your Meepos, you can get a lot of nets down and really try to make sure you capture people, jump on top of them, and just deal a ton of damage. And it makes it's a really, really good ability. I don't think it goes through BKB. I don't 100% know for sure. Because I know Naga's net does. I'm not sure if Meepo's ability does as well. In any event, what it does make you really good at is catching up to heroes. It gives you a kind of a disable during team fights. It allows you to sort of will do a lot, like contribute in a fight or gank, because you can drop the Earthbind on people, drop your little net, and then as they come, you know, they can't get away. So you just poof a bunch of guys on top of them and try to get kills. It's pretty legit ability. So
Radiant's mid tower's getting banged up.
I don't know what, like, you know, you can go on Dota Fire and Dota Buff and some other places to find out, like, all the different potential builds. Like I said, what I did first was go poof, and the reason I wanted to go poof first is I wanted it for nuking the lane and helping me get last hits, because I'm not really good with last hitting, especially with a character I haven't played much. Even characters I play a lot, like, I'm not very good at last hitting. You know, it's everybody's bane, right? And here I die again. I mean, not much. I mean, when you get shackled and then Shadow Shaman drops his ult and then Sven drops his ult and his Stormhammer, you're basically going to have a bad time. So what do I do at this point? I'm working on my Vladimir's offering because I figure, well, at the very least, once I get Vladimir's offering, all of my Meepos that are nearby will have lifesteal, which gives me much more survivability. I'm like, I'm having a real bad time on bottom lane, so instead of feeding more, I was like, I'm going to run to the jungle.
Somebody's cooking.
Meepo is a pretty damn good jungler, especially as you get like once you get one or two clones out, and he can survive pretty well with poof for nuking and with the ability to sort of, you know, micro his clones around. You can get aggro off one clone, give it to another one, and as you guys can see, boom, 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 I can clear camps pretty fast, even at level 6 early on with my Geostrike and my poofs. So I decided to transition to the jungle because I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to feed bot, and this way I can try and get some farm up, get a couple of core items, get some levels, and maybe come to team fights as necessary and not feed the Sven, which is a bad scene because Sven is definitely one of their carries. They have kind of an interesting lineup with the Luna, and you know, the Bat is good for initiation, Luna's a good late game carry, Sven is a good sort of core. I like Sven. He's got a lot of good abilities. I'm not saying he's like the best carry in the world, but he can be super dangerous. And against the Meepo, he's super scary because he's got Cleave and Stormhammer. Not that it's impossible to beat the Sven, as we will see over the course of this game, but he is pretty scary to a Meepo in any event. So, as you guys can see, I'm going Vlad's first. Now, it may have made more sense to go Treads first, because then my other Meepos get the benefit of the Treads. But I wanted to get the early Vlads for extra jungling ability, survivability, and contributing a little bit in team fight, because we've got a Timber, we've got an anti-mage, we've got some heroes that can benefit from having that melee lifesteal, which is pretty good. I'm keeping my aura on because I'm not in lane, so I'm not worried about our creeps getting too powerful. And at this point, I think I ran over to try to make something happen because I saw these guys coming into the jungle. Alright, so they're coming into our jungle. They got the Bat Rider and they've got their Slardar in the top lane, and they decided to put their Luna mid. Right now, we're not having the best time. Alright, Slardar's got 3 kills. The Sven and the Shadow Shaman each have a kill. And all we've got is we got 1 kill on our Anti-Mage and 1 kill on our Timber. Not too bad. We also put our Timber and something's happening. Gaming's happening. We got our Coddle and our Auntie and myself running around. Yeah, the real tough thing about Meepo is trying to control his individual clones. And as you can see, one of my clones got really low, so I sent it back to base, and then boom, poof it right back on top of me to help keep jungling. The other cool thing about doing that is you can send your primary Meepo back to base to pick up items and then poof him back in while your other clones continue to farm, things like that. I've picked up my Vlad's recipe and I got my Mask of Madness, so we're looking pretty good. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's a Slardar. Let's go on the Slardar. I didn't have Earthbind, which was probably a mistake.
Technical difficulties.
I poof, we run, the Coddle's a dead man, but here comes Anti-Mage, he drops his ult, here's the Batty Bat. Not much going on. Definitely should have had Earthbind at this point, it would have helped in the team fight. Probably a 1-4-1 build is a good one. Oh no, and it's bad, and I'm another dead Meepo. So that was a mistake. If I'd had Earthbind, we probably could have dove in there a little more successfully, but these guys were rotating pretty well. They come up, boom, here comes a Slardar, or here comes a Sven. I get stunned and killed. We don't get any kills out of that. They're leading 7-2. It's a bad time. Slardar's got 4 kills already. Our Anti-Mage is not having the best time ever. And let's take a look. As you can see, however, the experience graph not as spiked as you might think. It's definitely still in favor of the Radiant and has been for a while. Okay, fine. So they're currently, and now they're up ahead by about 1,000. So they're taking up an experience. We're definitely on the back end, but it's not like outrageous. It's only 12 minutes in, so, you know, but there you go. Gold, on the other hand, they're already starting to spike up by about 1,500 gold. That's not good. They've also got one of our towers. We have none of their towers. You know, we're definitely not doing well right now. That's for sure. And like I said, it might have been better for me to start leveling Earthbind over Geostrike. I mean, the slow is nice, the damage bonus is nice, and we're going to be getting another Meepo soon, especially if I can get my Aghs up after I get my power treads. But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the Earthbind is really good in a fighter for chasing down enemy heroes and getting kills and keeping them from roaming our jungle and our anti-mage. They kill the Coddle again. Oh my god, there's 4 of them there. What am I doing in this jungle? I'm like, well, I'm going to keep farming this jungle. Slardar just walks right past me. I'm like, I might as well get these kills. I don't know why I didn't just immediately run in. And I see the Slardar up there. Now I've got Earthbind. I miss. I get a poof. Sven goes ahead and does his thing. We've lost our top tower. I'm like, we should back off, waiting for the heroes. But you can see the rest of my team's starting to come in. Right, Coddle's back. They're coming into our jungle. They're pushing forward a little bit. I come back in to keep farming. I'm not sure why I thought that was the best decision, friends, because it was not. Although the one thing I can say about it is that while we're all kind of, you know, jerking around waiting for an initiation to happen, I can get some farm. I got my Vlads. Here's a Slardar, and all of a sudden, boom, he gets netted down. We're going to go ahead and get some slows, get some attacks on him. He's going to get slowed. It's not going to be enough. Sven's attacking down there. Lich gets a beautiful ult. I get some experience out of that, and some gold for some assist gold, and there we go. They lose 2, we lose 1. They lost their Sven and their Batrider. We lost our Lich. Really nice ult from the Lich. I'm still not contributing much at this point, but I've managed to get my power treads. Right, so this is a rough game. Like, I could have potentially done, like I said, if I'd leveled Earthbind more than Geostrike potentially, because as you dramatically increase the range as you level it up. It's like 250 range each time, and the cooldown goes down each time, so it gives you a really nice disable. And I think that's probably a better way to go, depending on how the game's going. Like, if you're getting a lot of free farm, oh, here's a Luna. I'm like, well, there's a Luna. I'm going to throw a net, and it's going to totally miss. And I'm going to forget my other Meepos up there, and then we're going to bring them down. But we're going to chase these guys in because our whole team's here, and now we're all mid. All right. Like I said, tough thing about Meepo is trying to control all of your clones. I've managed to hit level 10, though, so now I've got Divided We Stand rank 2, and I've got 3 Meepos. All of whom are getting the benefits of Vlad's offering, as well as my entire team. We're jumping in. A couple of my Meepos have fresh mana. Each Meepo's got its own mana pool. So the thing that you got to get good at if you want to be good at Meepo is making sure that you can tab between or select between your different Meepos efficiently. I get super stunned again. I'm running away. I drop a nice Earthbind there, which allows us to kill the Sven, and I run backwards. I've got some charges of sticky napalm, but I'm like, you know what? You know what I'm not doing? Stay in there so I can die again. So I think I'm going to send one of my Meepos back and 2 of my Meepos to base. So I come back towards the fight to see what I can do as we try to push down Radiant Tower, mid tower here, which we are going to succeed in doing, giving us all some gold. And that's nice. It gives us some extra map control and presence. We haven't been warding super well this game. I think at a certain point we start being like, hey, we really should get some wards, and we start dropping wards down. I think our Coddle starts buying them. And that's one of the things that potentially I could have bought too, like I could have gone for wards. It's not really my job, but it's one of those things where, like, if you're going to run around the jungle and try to get farm, and no one's warding for you, and they're roaming on you pretty hard like this, or they've got a lot of presence on the map like this, it's probably not the worst idea in the world to spend 150 on some observer wards and drop them in your jungle so you know if a gang's coming. Because at the very least, you know, that 150 gold you spend, even if you don't get kills out of it, if you don't die because you see them coming, you're saving the gold that you would have lost from dying. So it's one of those things that can be hard to remember in the moment, especially if you're focused on getting your next items up and everything. But it's a good thing to keep in mind, like, hey, you know, sometimes having vision, if no one's providing vision on the map, it can really save your bacon and end up getting you more gold than you would think, just because of how, you know, deaths and everything else work. So I'm getting some TP scrolls, or trying. Like I said, the only Meepo that can carry these scrolls... Oh, sorry, Sven comes in here, he gets a stun off, he doesn't stun me. Bat Rider's doing his stuff. I'm trying to run away from all that stun. Lich drops his ult, gets a lot of pain down. I die. I try to poof in. Sven's still up. Our anti-mage, though, is coming in. Oh, but the anti-mage having a real bad time. He gets shackled. And that was a really ugly fight. We lost everybody. The game is not looking good. They got a 2,000 gold lead, but we had, I mean, previous to that, you know, when Anti-Mage got the tower and we killed the Sven, boom, we had spiked back down normal, but boom, with that fight, they're back up. I'm a sad panda. Their experience gain, on the other hand, way went in our favor. So our Anti-Mage dies, we all die, and that's not good. We lost 5 for 2. They're pushing in on our top lane. You know, it's looking pretty scary. I'm figuring out what to buy next. You know, they've got a gold lead, but they don't have as much of an experience lead as you might think. Right? Some of these fights have been helping us out in the experience a lot, and getting a lot of, you know, jungle camps in some of the lanes has been helping. At this point, I decide, you know what? I'm going to go mech. Mech is nice because it gives you aura regen, which will help all my Meepos in the jungle and everything. It also gives you the mech heal when you complete it. What I didn't realize was that our Coddle was also going mech. So normally you don't want to buy 2 mechs. I don't know if it actually, I think it actually wasn't that bad in this game, like I said, because I was kind of running around with my Meepos and they were all staying close, so they were all benefiting from the aura and the heal, and having extra heal in the lane or in the fights is not a bad thing. But it is one of those things where it's like typically you don't want to get 2. The nice thing it does for the Meepo, like I said, is it gives you all of that regen and armor bonus to all nearby allied units, which helps all your clones out quite a bit. Here comes Luna with an Eclipse, but she dies to the Anti-Mage. I'm standing in this fire, which I shouldn't be doing. I managed to poof out, but I'm going to die here, but we do get the Slardar. Now, if I'd been smart and microed out that one guy away from the friggin' fire, we might have done much better there than we ended up doing.
Somebody's on a roll.
However,
Bottom tower ain't a pretty
Coddle dies. Anti-Mage survives, nearly kills the Shadow Shaman, but a nice, you know, hex from that Shadow Shaman turns him into a chicken. And we're still looking pretty rough. They've got 18 kills. They're up by 3,000 gold. They're up by about 1,000 experience. We're fortifying our structures. We've lost like all of our T1 towers are down. They've only lost their T1 mid.
Trouble brewing at Radiant's bottom tower.
It's a bad scene, friends. It's a bad scene. I got my Meepos out, but I got my 3 Meepos. Now, once I finish the mech, the next thing I'm thinking is probably my Aghanim Scepter. That's probably something I could have built before the mech too, especially if I'd been paying attention and knowing that Coddle was going mech, and we'd stuck together. But I still stand by the fact that having this headdress regen, which gives +2 to all attributes, it gives a bonus regen of 3 to all attributes with all my allies in the area, which means all my Meepos are getting an extra 3 regen, which is really nice. And then we're getting the armor from the buckler, which is really nice. Right now I got like 17 armor, so I'm a little bit sturdy, but I'm not super. And I've got, you know, 1,700 hit or 1,100 hit points, so I'm doing all right. But I'm not like, you know, magic. Like I'm not like unkillable by any stretch of the imagination. As you can see, we still have getting wards put down, which is nice. Their Shadow Shaman has bought an Aghanim Scepter. And I think what I do is I decide to TP up here because I was thinking our team might be coming to help out, defend this tower. But none of them TP'd. Okay, fine. So I'm like, well, hopefully they'll push the top lane while I try to distract them bot. And then maybe we can get, at least trade a T2 for their T1, which is not a good trade, but is better than just losing the T2 for nothing. As it turns out, for whatever reason, they just ran off. They backed. Even though they probably could have killed me, because like I said, this is the first time I've ever played Meepo. I'm not like the best Mappo player here. But I'm like, okay, I'll keep pushing it forward. I push out the lane, kill that wave, move down here, and I think I take the Ancient Stack. I was like, I don't know if I can take the Ancient Stack. And it turned out I could very easily take the Ancient Stack. So that's what I do. That's one of the other cool things about Meepo, man. He can start farming really efficiently as you go. So while I'm down here taking the Ancient Stack, our timber saw is up on the top lane here,
Radiant's
wrecking
top
house.
tower's hurt. Going from rogue.
He kills a Luna,
Down.
right? Anti-mage manages to run away. Caudle runs away. We get 3 kills there for nothing. Meanwhile, I've been down here farming.
Dyer's mid tower's having
At this point, I realize that Keeper of the Light is also going for mech. I get a nice Earthbind down on a Slardar. Batty Bat comes in. He's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do my thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to poof. So I poof my one Meepo out, which gets him out of danger back to my other 2. And then we're going to go back to heal up. I believe I sent him, but yeah, oh no, actually I think what happened was the Caudle sent him back to base. Yeah, he sent the one Meepo back to base. Do we not have a courier? No, we do. I don't know why it says no courier. Oh, it's because I'm not, yeah. Anyway, where was I? I'm pretty close to a mech. I believe, in fact, my mech is on the way. The next thing I'm going to build is the Aghs Scepter, because the Aghs Scepter gives me another Meepo, as well as a bunch of health and stats. I tried to drop an Earthbind there, but I was nowhere near close enough. They go in on that. I'm like, let me get my mech and not just charge in blindly. They're going. I probably should have pushed in with them a little more. We might have been able to make more stuff happen because there were 3 of them going in there, and I was like, I guess I'm going to go farm the jungle. Could have been better to stick with the team, but this way I'm getting some farm, and now I'm top lane so I can help push, which is good because we still haven't gotten the T1 top down. We've managed to get the T1 bot, so that's good. We're starting to even it up, and now with the T1 top done, we're even in towers.
For the Radiant.
They're chasing our Timbersaw mid. Timbersaw's running away. He's having a bad time. Is he going to be able to escape? And he is TP'd home. Meanwhile, we're gonna push. We're like, all right, here they are.
Radiant's
Here comes the
top
Sven.
tower's in bad shape.
They glyph.
Structures must have been fortified.
Got drums on the Lich there. And I think at this point I was like, I'm gonna back. They come in. I drop an Earthbind. I jump in. I get stunned. I get Bat Rider thingied. I'm running away. What's gonna happen? I die. So what I should have done in that moment, instead of trying, I either should have immediately stayed and tried to fight, or I should have just ran as soon as the Caudle was getting jumped on. I just ran, knowing that I'm not going to save him, he's not surviving, like, just give it up. Especially since, if I'd done that, I could have run to the secret shop at the very least and bought my point booster without losing all that gold from dying. So, big throws, big mistakes, not good, not a good scene. However, we're still about even in experience overall, and the gold is evened up. So, as much as they're ahead in kills, they're not as ahead as it would look just looking at the kill graph. Right? And you look at the map, oh, and here they come. So they're coming to top. All of us are back alive.
Mid tower could use a hand.
They destroy top tower. I mean, it was just, there was no saving top tower. However, with all of us here, our tier 3 is much easier to defend, and our anti-mage is currently pushing down the tower. I get stunned again, I get hexed again, here comes a Lich Aura, I run backwards, I'm like, I'm gonna run, I poof back. I don't know if I should have just had him run. I think standing there to poof was probably a mistake. If they'd gone on me, they probably would have been able to kill me because the charge time on it, well, not egregious, it's 1.5 seconds. Okay, fine, but I send that one clone back to heal, and then I can poof him back. I've got my mech ability. He's going to poof back soon. I've got enough for a point booster. I forget whether or not I sent the courier for it or if I went and bought it or how I teched that item-wise, but I definitely want to get my Aghanims up pretty quick. I go back to the jungle to keep farming. Our top tower is getting pushed in, so I go back to defend it. And I'm going to poof all my guys in on top. Turns out the tower had already killed all of the creeps that were up there, so I sent a couple Meepos into the jungle so I can get some farm while the other Meepo comes up top. This is the other really cool thing about Meepo. Even if you're only halfway good at, you know, micro, especially when you get to a reasonable level and a reasonable amount of farm, they send a couple Meepos into the jungle to farm camps, other Meepos out pushing lanes, you can poof them on top of each other, and it gives you a lot of presence on the map. As long as you're aware that if somebody jumps on you, it's going to be a real bad scene if you don't have a good, if they've got stuns, basically. So here comes the Lich, here comes the Slardar. I'm like, I'm going to jump in on the Slardar. Slardar stuns me once, and then I'm like, let's Earthbind. And we get an Earthbind. Suddenly he's slowed down. Anti-Mage comes in. I get a kill. Here's a bunch more of them. We're like, let's back off and not go into that big mess of guys. I'm going to go farm some more jungle camps. How's our Anti-Mage doing? Anti-Mage has a strange item build. He went Vanguard, which is alright. Again, fast Battle Fury, generally better because it gives you a lot, more push potential and farm potential, which is why it's sort of the standard build. But a Vanguard gives you some survivability if you're feeling super pressured. It gives you some regen, and it has its uses. And I'm not one to super judge item builds at this stage of the game, especially since I'm I decided to go Mechanism when we already had a Mechanism in the group, right? So, but our Anti-Mage is doing okay. Our Coddle's got, his Mechanism. We've got a Bloodstone on the Timber Saw, which is phenomenal. Our Lich has Drums and Tranquils and is also, I think, working towards an Aghanim Scepter. So all in all, it's looking okay. Timber Saw is getting chased by a bunch of guys.
Right now.
The Goon Squad is chasing Timber, and we're pushing. I'm sending a couple Meepos down. I don't know why I'm sending Meepos down instead of sending Meepos up, because here comes Sven getting 700 gold from the mega kill streak. They're all running around the jungle, but that being said, suddenly I've got two Meepos running around their jungle with our Coddle who's pushing out this lane. I got another Meepo up in base, just in case. Oh, that was a beautiful pushback into that Earthbind, which was pretty hilarious. Bunch of damage on the Slardar. I don't think I'm able to catch him. No chance at all. No Earthbind there. He runs back. We're still defending our tower, though. And I'm getting some farm. And we're pushing. And I got my two Meepos here pushing. My other Meepo just chilling up. And the reason I was leaving this guy up top is in case I had to run. See, I figured, if push came to shove and we needed to defend, I could just bounce these Meepos right back to base with poof. And we'd be good to go.
Bottom tower's done for.
We killed their bottom tower, pushing out the lane. Nice thing about having Keeper of the Light. Keeper of the Light is pretty scary counter push and push potential with that ability of his. Here comes a Slardar again. Slardar gets his little stun down. I get an Earthbind down on the Slardar. Coddle's dropping his thing. Coddle's having a real bad time. I'm like, bro, I gotta run. I felt kind of bad, but what are you going to do? There was too much there. There was and that was actually a smart move from me. We probably pushed too far. We probably should have backed off right after we got that tower kill, and then we might have been able to keep the Keeper of Light alive. But me not feeding again there meant that I'm that much closer to my Aghanim Scepter, which gives me another Meepo, which gives me a lot of power. Our cool thing about Meepo you can do, like I said, once you start getting a lot of Meepos and getting some good items up, you can Roche by yourself, you can farm Ancients by yourself, you can split push lanes, you can farm jungle and lane at the same time. You got a lot of scary abilities. But his stat gain is such that, super late game, he's not going to be, amazing super late game, even with items. There's other guys that are going to out-carry him, which is why it's a good thing. He's not necessarily a carry. He's kind of a core hero, I would say. But he's good when he gets a lot of farm, and he can get a lot of farm very fast, and it gives you a lot of scary late mid-game potential, I think. Pardon me. Alright, here they come. Got a Lincoln Spear on the Batty Bat. It don't matter. Earthbind, Earthbind, Earthbind. Poof in on the Bat Rider. Bat Rider gets slowed from Geostrike, and suddenly that's a dead Batty Bat. I'm standing in a bunch of sticky napalm, though. I don't know why. Probably should move out of it, but it's fine. I got lifesteal, friends. Here comes a Slardar chasing our Timber Saw. I run back into the napalm because I'm super good at this game, but then I leave. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's do this. I mech up since I know we have another mech for if the fight starts on the Coddle. But I want to make sure my Meepos aren't super vulnerable. Here comes the Slardar on the Timber. Timber's doing his magic stuff. We get another Earthbind down, and suddenly there's a dead Slardar. Here comes a Lich ult. I'm taking a ton of damage from that, which is going to kill me, but we do manage to kill 4 of them for 1. 4 of their heroes for 1 Meepo. And I'm still close enough. Now, I probably had enough gold to speed by that Blade of Alacrity before I died. But whatever. Even after dying, I was still close enough to it.
Invisibility.
Here comes Luna thinking she's going to be a baller by herself, and she is not. I don't know what she was thinking there, but it gives another kill to Timbersaw, which is nice. And I'm pretty close to my Blade of Alacrity, which means I'm pretty close to my Aghanim Scepter and my 5th Meepo. Especially since I just hit level 19 and got my 3rd level Divided We Stand, so it's boom, 4 Meepos and another one from the Aghanims pretty much when I respawn, which is real good. So now I've got my 5 a bit late. I wouldn't say I was playing super well this game, but it's been kind of a tough game. Let's take a look at the graph, shall we? Suddenly, we've got a 10,000 XP gain over our enemies. And a 3,000 gold gain. Now it's up to 5, which is just going to keep going up. So you can see, despite us having a really rough early game, we've suddenly been able, with a couple of team fights, we've been swinging things. And we've also been farming, I think, a little more efficiently. Taking towers. We're even in towers. A bunch of people diving down on our Cubicle there, who's just pushing down that bottom lane like it's his job. And unfortunately is feeding them some kills, but is also keeping that bottom lane pushed, which means it's going to be hard for them to take that bottom lane that they're going to want to take. Now, they all start moving up that way. We don't see it. We don't see them going anywhere. And I think at this point I decided to Roche. Because I'm like, well, guess what? I can do that. I also decided to go for an Assault Cuirass, because it's going to give me some delicious, delicious aura of like armor reduction and a bunch of attack speed and other good stuff. So I'm like, hey, let's Roche. We bring the Roche in. I figured the Slardar walks right past us without checking the pit. If he checked the pit, this might have gone way differently, because Slardar's got a really nasty area stun, and he can probably get it off in that pit. Suddenly they're like, oh crap, they Roached. I'm pretty sure we gave it to the anti-mage, because I was like, let's give it to the anti-mage. They all start coming in. It's like, alright, crap, here it's go time. I drop a couple of nets, do nothing, get a bunch of stuns. They back off. We're going to get a kill on the Slardar. I drop another Earthbind, doesn't do anything, but it doesn't matter, because Slardar's dead. I've got Slardar ult on me, hurting one of my Meepos, but it's fine. I back off. I'm running towards the pit. I come back in. Our team's chasing, and we're going into the jungle. Okay, I've backed off. I've healed up. Our Timbersaw's killed their Bat Rider, and now I'm going to kick some jungle creeps, and we're going to keep pushing. So cool. I'm starting to get sort of the hang of this. I got my Assault Cuirass on the way. I figure I'll save for Hyperstone first since I got room, and that'll make my main Meepo attack super fast. The armor reduction will also be nice for enemy heroes and enemy towers, so we can push even more better. I know there's another wave coming. I'm like, I can clear this wave. I got 5 of me. And that's exactly what happens. We clear this wave really fast with some poofs and some right clicks. And then I decided to move off. I don't really know where they are, right? Like, we have vision sort of in our jungle, and we had vision by the Roche pit. We don't have any vision in their jungle. We don't have any vision on their lane. So I was like, maybe I'll back off. But then I decided to push in. But then I see Slardar and another person. So I'm like, let me back off again because I don't know where my team is. And I'm running. But now our team's coming. Here comes Timbersaw. And now I'm right here. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and drop some Earth Binds. So there we go. We bind down the Sven. Sven takes a ton of damage. Sven's like, oh, I got this. And he's like, I think totally underestimated how much damage we had. And this Sven, incidentally, had triggered a Mask of Madness and has Chrysalis and has like no major survivability items. Doesn't have a BKB or anything. Is going for his Heart of Tarrasque, but doesn't have it yet, which means he's surprisingly fragile. My Meepos, on the other hand, are less fragile at about 2,000 hit points a pop. With Vlads and a mech, and I got 5 of me. So I'm suddenly a little scarier than I was in the early laning stage when he was dominating our lane. Keeper of the Light is pushing this lane, and that was actually really good timing too, where his thing just unleashed right as they spawn a wave of creeps. We decided to jump up on the tier 3. I back off. We have a Shiva's Guard on the Timbersaw. They push in. They drop the Shadow Shaman ult. Anti-Mage barely blinks away in time. I'm like, let me get out of the fire. I'm taking too much damage here. I'd already mech'd, and I'm gonna back off because I don't want to wait. I want to at least wait for that Shadow Shaman ult to drop before I go back in. Lich ult goes down. I'm going for the Slardar. I'm not going to get the Slardar. Stun down on the Lich. Lich is going to survive just barely. Timber Chain or a Chakram comes in. I get some poofs out. I kill the Sven with an Earthbind. He's unable to take me out. And suddenly we're still down here with another wave coming in, and we're like, let's push, 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 push. Maybe. I got my mech back.
Trouble brewing at Radiant.
So I can probably mech. I mech. I give our creeps armor and health. I give myself health. I give our Timbersaw health. We get the thing. I Earthbind down the Slardar. He's in a bad time. He gets slowed from a Shiva's Guard, and suddenly he hits a dead Slardar. And now we're like, well, we should probably back off. We've got a kill. We got their tower. We got their T3. And as you guys can see, now we've got over 20,000 XP on them and over 10,000 gold on the Radiant. So as much as a good game they were having early, our late game was getting better, and they weren't able to shut me down enough that I didn't get super scary. And the same thing with our anti-mage, frankly, who now has a Basher, a Battle Fury, has an Orb of Venom, got Sacred Relic. I mean, he's getting all kinds of stuff. He's still got his Aegis, incidentally. You know, we've got Aghanims on the Lich. I've got my Aghs and my Vlads, and I'm almost ready for my Assault Curios, honestly. So I can pick up my Hyperstone and start getting the Plate Mail and everything else, and then soon I'll have an Assault Curios, and that'll make me even tankier and harder to kill and even scarier at pushing. So there we go. Hyperstone purchased. I'm dealing okay damage, but there's 5 of me, so, you know, that adds up a lot. Regen rune top. I got one guy back here healing. I believe what I... And one of the things you can do, like I said, you can potentially send like your primary Meepo back, have your clone Meepos run in, pick up items at the primary, and then, you know, poof him right back on top of your clones. But we're pushing down the mid lane now. Luna drops her ult. We back off, but Luna's going to get a kill on the Timbersaw, which is bad news. But Lich gets his ult off. We're taking a ton of damage. Lich is taking a ton of damage. It's a chaotic mess. But I'm in here. I'm attacking the Sven. Sven's going to die. Luna's going to die. I'm getting lots of healing. I get an Earthbind. Luna's dead. We get a mech dropping. Anti-Mage is here pushing. And all of a sudden it's like, well, alright. There's a dead T1 or T2 mid. Let's keep pushing. Here comes another boost from the Anti-Mage. We're going to lose the Aegis, but at least they didn't have it. Boots of Travel on the Timbersaw means he comes right back into lane, and now there's 5 of me, so all of a sudden we surround the tower, get knocked back by the Bat Rider, but thankfully focus the tower down instead of trying to dive the Bat Rider. It's one of those things where, like, when you get up on the base like that, yeah, you can try and get some hero kills, but if you can get the tower or the racks down, it definitely is better, because if you don't get that hero kill, or if they get the deny, or if they all jump on you and you haven't gotten the kill, you haven't gotten the tower, then all of a sudden you've just fed them kills and not gotten anything out of it. Like, killing, it's way better to take the T3 and have them be that much more vulnerable to further pushes, especially when you can back off right afterwards, than it would be to necessarily, than it would be to go ahead and try to just kill the Bat Rider and then potentially feed or not get the T3 and have to run. I regen, thinking, I wonder if this affects all my Meepos, and of course it doesn't, so I just sort of waste a regen rune, but at least it means they don't get it. And I come back to the jungle to farm more. I got Assault Curios, I got my mech, I got a bunch of I got some TP scrolls coming because I want to make sure that if I need them, I've got them. We have an Abyssal Blade on the Anti-Mage now. That's why I was going for the Sacred Relic. And they're all running around down there. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So, Bat Rider's got his BKB up. He's dropping all kinds of shenanigans. He's pulling our Coddle back. Our Coddle's having a bad time, but Coddle mechs, and suddenly I'm here. Suddenly I'm here, and it's not going well for them, because there's a lot of me. I surround the Sven. Sven dies instantly. I take some creeps. We've also got the Anti-Mage here. We get knocked back from the Bat Rider again. I'm backing off a little bit. My mech's back up in 34 seconds, 33 seconds here. Okay, fine, but you know what? It's cool. We're going to push down this tower. No problem. Look how fast. That thing just melts. It melts the Meepo presence. I try to Earthbind. I totally miss, but I get some creeps, but it doesn't matter because we don't care about creeps. I try to run back out of the fire, and at this point, too, the Timbersaw is pushing their bottom racks and takes out their bottom T3 and their bottom racks. Slardar comes in for some reason, gets a nice stun, and gets away, but doesn't do anything. He just kind of runs in, stuns, and then runs. Now, if I'd been able to Earthbind him After the stun, that would have been nice, but he, that bonus movement speed he's got is really makes him pretty hard to get it on. Now the trick with Earthbind too is you throw it. It's got a really long range right now, as you can see, and you throw it at a point. Like you don't target a hero, you target a point in space. So I could have potentially targeted where I thought he was going to go, and that's one of the things where, as you get better with this hero, something to think about is anticipating your enemy's movements. Like where are they going to be, not where they are, so that you can drop that down and catch them in the net. Timbersaw gets picked up by the Batrider. I got a Meepo in here. Oh, a bunch of my Meepos get captured. They get a Shadow Shaman thing down. It's going to be a bad news. I die. I mean, I had too many Meepos too deep in there. It was totally a bad engagement for us. But I decided to buy back, TP down, poof everything in because we're still pushing, and I figure we got an advantage here. And I don't know what other items to get anyway, so it's like let's poof, 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 poof. And here they all come. And now we're going to run down the mid lane. So what I should have done is either backed off or had my Meepos targeting the barracks and ignored the enemy heroes, because we could have raxed them very easily there. We still managed to get at least one of their raxes. I noticed that Roshan's up, so I'm like, well, might as well do Roshan. Pick that up. I'm like, I guess I'll take it. Which I believe is what I ended up doing. Yeah, I sell my TP scroll. I take the Aegis,
Roche won't be stomping around no more, thanks to the die.
which is pretty awesome on Meepo, and off we go. They got their Batrider coming around trying to do something. I think we spotted him with the ward. Yeah, we did. So they go back on him, and he's like, I gotta run away. He goes into the Roche pit, which was a mistake, and then all of a sudden I'm here. BKB. He's gonna get away, but my Geostrike is slowing him quite a bit. It appears that Earthbind does not go through BKB, because I think I had him there, but it didn't catch. And we're going down bot to push in bot lane. And at this point, the game is kind of over. We still have two of our T2s up. They've lost mid-racks. They've lost part of their mid-racks. They've lost all their bot racks. They've lost all their T1s and 2 towers. They are just in a real bad position. Lanes are getting pushed in. And here we come. Earthbind goes down, Lich Ult goes down, Sven melts, Shadow Shaman melts. I annihilate this Rax. We're leading by almost 20,000, though they were swinging it back a little bit, leading by almost 20,000 gold. They swung it back a little bit in that last push there, but it's not going to matter. I just focused the towers at this point. I'm like, you guys can fight. It's fine. I'm going to go, it's go time. I'm taking a lot of damage from that freaking tower, though. It was just focusing me. But it doesn't matter, because here we're going to get the throne. There's the GG. I didn't even need to use my Aegis. And that's it. My first Meepo game, and it happens to be a win. Go figure, friends. But yeah, there you have it. Meepo's a pretty fun hero. He is stressful, but he is entertaining. Build aura items. Get your critical mass of Meepos, and make sure you push, push, push. Because if you wait till late game, or if you're not on an aggressive push strategy, he's going to get outmanned. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next time.